up, sports fans? Welcome and thank you for joining us on another episode of EBC Sports International. I'm your host, EJ Gonzalez, coming to you from Alexandria, Virginia. Tonight, as always, I'm joined with a great group of friends who I love to talk sports with. Our very own Knicks fan from Vancouver. What's up, Jolty?
What's up, EJ? Normally, I would have something funny or witty or cool to say about one of my teams, but there's nothing I really want to talk about tonight.
Yeah. We'll talk about that a little later. We'll give you a chance to vent there, Jolty. But as for our other Canadian, what's up? It's Adian.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going, EJ?
Good, man. Thanks for joining us. And last but not least, from Vegas, we got Brian. What's up, Brian? Welcome back.
What's going on, everybody? Excited to be here. Let's talk sports.
Yes, definitely. Again, thanks for joining us, guys. And before we go on, I just want to remind our viewers that we are by no means experts, but rather a good group of friends expressing our own opinions and sharing that same passion for sports. Now, let's get started with some sports news. First up, we have football news from Jolty.
Thanks, EJ. So NFL star wide receiver Julio Jones turned heads league-wide when he went on record saying he does not want to play for the Atlanta Falcons any longer. During a phone call with Shannon Sharpe on FSI's Undisputed, Sharpe asked Julio Jones if he wants to remain with the Falcons, and he responded by saying, "Nah, I'm out of here, man," which is mind-blowing that someone would announce that on a radio show or a TV show. But anyway, Jones is still one of the top wide receivers in the NFL and an absolute game changer when healthy. There were rumors early in the week that the Falcons would only consider a trade package that included a first-round pick in return for Jones. And today, rumors are flying that they've received that exact offer. Sources from around the league are saying that the offer was submitted to the Falcons by the Tennessee Titans, but they also said that the Falcons might not take that offer because the Patriots are preparing to make an even better offer in the coming days. We'll try to keep you posted as this story progresses. Back to you, EJ.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Jolty. Now let's swing over to Brian, who has an update on the NBA awards. Brian?
What's going on, guys? The NBA has announced the winners of the Most Improved Player Award, the Sixth Man of the Year, and the Coach of the Year for the 2020-2021 season. Julius Randle of the New York Knicks won the Most Improved Player Award, averaging 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists per game, beating out Michael Porter Jr. of the Denver Nuggets and Jeremy Grant of the Detroit Pistons in the race for Most Improved. Randle helped revitalize Knicks basketball, as we all know, as the focal point of the offense and averaged career highs in points and assists. And now, Jordan Clarkson of the Utah Jazz won Sixth Man of the Year, averaging 18 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 2.5 assists for the season. Clarkson provided instant offense off the bench for the Jazz and helped lead the team to the #1 seed in the Western Conference. Now heading over to the Coach of the Year, head coach Monty Williams won the NBCA Coach of the Year award, leading the Phoenix Suns to a 51-21 season and the 2nd seed in the Western Conference, reaching the playoffs finally for the first time since 2010. Wow. The league has yet to announce the winners of the Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and MVP, but we will wait very patiently as these decisions are made. Back to you, EJ.
Yes, wait, we will. And I just want to point out that last week, or the last time we talked about these awards, I'm a 3 for 3 for the ones that they announced so far. So we'll see if I get 100% on that. But thanks, Brian. Let's go to Adian, who has the boxing scoop for us. Adian.
Thank you, EJ. In the past week, 2 boxing mega fights have been announced, though one of those may not be the fight we were expecting. First, Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, will take on Deontay Wilder at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. It was widely believed that Fury would proceed to fight Anthony Joshua, but those plans were put on hold after an independent arbitrator ruled that Wilder was legally obligated to fight Fury for the 3rd time. There were discussions that Wilder would receive a step-aside fee, but since then the contracts have already been signed and the agreed date for the bout will be July 24th. The first fight between the two ended in a draw back in 2018, and the second fight ended with a 7th round TKO victory for Fury back in 2020. The Gypsy King promises to KO Wilder in the first round. Also, Manny Pacquiao will make his return to the ring after an extended layoff to fight welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr. This bout will also be in Las Vegas, although the venue is still undetermined. Pacquiao had this to say: "I have always wanted to challenge myself and take the biggest fights. Errol Spence is an unbeaten champion, and those are the kinds of fights I want." It would certainly be impressive if Pacquiao, who is 42, could beat the undefeated 31-year-old, as he is the number 4 ranked pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Nonetheless, mark those dates on your calendar, because on July 24th and August 21st, we're definitely going to see some fireworks. Thanks. Back to you, EJ.
Thanks, Adian. Yeah, man, definitely going to mark that on my calendar. But that's a wrap on the sports stories for this week. When we come back, we jump right into NBA playoff talk, starting with the Eastern Conference. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Na-excite ako dahil solid po yung lineup ngayon.
Papatunayan ko na sa grupo man o solo performance kaya-kaya kong maipagsabayan.
Papatunayan ko ngayong linggo na hindi dito magtatapos ang aking karera.
Isa na namang umaatikabong bakbakan sa siyawan ang aming hatid sa inyo as we head into our monthly finals. This is Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 Dance Edition.
This program is supported by China Bank. Your success is our business. Broadcast journalist Wayne De La Fuente returns on Philippine television and radio to deliver top stories and engage with the country's policymakers, shapers, and movers. Tatalakayin ang mga pangunahing balita alas 7 ng umaga mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, live sa teleradyo ng Net25 at Radyo Aguila DCEC 1062. Kasama si Wayne De La Fuente sa Balit Talakayan.
Kami po ang Fly 109. I'm Dem.
My name is Sean.
Ayun ako si Jeric. Abangan niyo po kami ngayong linggo
Sa Letters and Music
from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m.
dito lamang sa Net25. See ya!
Welcome back to EBC Sports International. Now let's dive right into our first topic. And let's get things started with the Eastern Conference NBA playoffs, specifically the Knicks and the Hawks series. This has, hands down, been the most juicy matchup in the Eastern Conference. The games have been extremely close in Game 1 and 2. Game 1 goes to the Hawks. Game 2 goes to the Knicks. And Game 3, that was just finished a couple of minutes ago, was won by the Hawks. So I want to start with the Knicks fan of the panel, Jolty. I'm sorry about the loss tonight, but how are you feeling right now about your New York Knicks?
Let me start by saying I love Trae Young, but I hate Trae Young. That guy, if he's playing the Knicks, especially in the playoffs, I mean, he's killing us right now, right? Yeah. I'm upset. I'm very upset because our stars, and I use the term stars very loosely. You know, Julius Randle and
RJ Barrett.
Blank right now.
RJ Barrett.
Barrett, yeah, no, I'm talking about one of our bigs, Reggie Bullock. You know, like they're not performing at all, right? Randall did not even wake up in this series until the second half of Game 2, and then today he played like trash again. But you know, he was a big part of that comeback in Game 2, and I'm surprised they even won that game. But I mean, we got to talk about guys coming off the bench, right? Alec Burks in Game 1 has 27, I think, or 24 off the bench, he's the leading scorer, right? Game 2, you have D Rose as the sixth man coming off the bench, scoring 27, leading the comeback. Tonight, Elfrid Payton, who's normally a starter, started game 1, started game 2, didn't even play. Derrick Rose started in his place, did not play, coach's decision. And Derrick Rose he's like 60 years old, goes on and scores 30 points tonight, right? Like, you have all these guys who weren't showing up in the regular season, and vice versa. All these guys who were showing up in the regular season playing like absolute garbage when it matters the most. I don't know if it's they're not used to the intensity of the playoffs, or if it's they've had an entire year of playing on the same team with no crowd, and now they got the crowd in their face screaming at them, and they don't know what to do. Especially Julius Randle, like, just the decisions he makes is not how he's played. Like, that's not the most improved player this season. Is not playing on the court, especially these last 3 games. I also want to say that the media has been garbage against the Knicks as well, because all season long, the Knicks have been touted as this hard-nosed, like, strong defensive team, and all of a sudden they're up against Trae Young, who dives all over the court, and they're all of a sudden the dirtiest team in basketball. Portrayed by the media, which is absolutely unfair. So, EJ, to answer your question, it's safe to say I'm very upset.
I feel your pain, man. It's crazy because I lived in Atlanta for a couple of years, and you could say that was like my second team during that time, right? The Atlanta Hawks. But I was rooting for the Knicks in this series. But you know who has shown up? Not Julius Randle, obviously, but it's been Trae Young. That guy has had an amazing playoff debut. So I want to ask Brian, man, how special has Trae Young been for the Hawks, and how impressive has he been for you?
He's been nothing short of spectacular, EJ. Trae Young has been putting his team on his back. He is the engine of the team. Thankfully, Trae Young knows how to play as an undersized point guard, knowing that there are some great young point guards who are around his height but aren't able to score and pass as well as he can. And that shows in the past few games, especially tonight, where he scored like 20 points and like double-digit assists. And he led to a lot of easy buckets for players like Capella, who was a great pickup, players like Collins. So I really think that if it wasn't for Trae Young putting up those kind of numbers, then the Knicks would have a better chance of defeating this team, because the Knicks have a player like Julius Randle who for some reason is just not showing up. Maybe it is because, like what Zolti said, the limelight, especially being in the playoff, the playoff scene, it's just not boding well for him. He doesn't have that kind of spirit or mentality like some players do. As we've seen with a player like Derrick Rose, who's only like maybe 30, but whose knees are like 60. But, he showed up. He needs to have that same spirit, that same attitude.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way for the Knicks to beat the Hawks. But, Trae Young, again, he's been fantastic this series so far.
Yeah, no, he's been a dog. And to go along with his attitude, he's been talking a lot of smack, jawing back and forth with fans. So I want to get to Adian, because I think it was game 1. Trae Young was spitting it out, man. He was getting into it with fans, and D Rose even was like, let him talk. But the next time we see him, we're still in this series. It's one game. But how do you feel personally about Trae Young and his trash talking right now?
Yeah, I love it. EJ, man, this is what playoff basketball is about. This is what I want to see. Back to the 90s when you could trash talk, you could you could hand check. It would be physical. It wasn't just a physical battle, it was also a mental battle. I love that part of it. But Trae Young is a small guy.
Yeah.
I don't know how he can back it up physically. But he is doing it with his game, and that's what matters most. And most of his trash talk is being directed towards the actual fans of New York, and they've been getting pretty personal with him, chanting, explicits at him, saying that he's balding and stuff. Like, This is not stuff you take lightly, and you wanna go at that fan base as hard as you can. And he's been balling out, man. More than 80 points in the 3 games, more than 30 assists in the 3 games. His debut as a playoff performer couldn't be more impressive.
Yeah, no, definitely. And he said that he loves the back and forth with the fans. He's having a lot of fun with it, and this is what it's all about. So before we get to the next one, I want to ask you guys your picks for this series, because this is the closest series in the Eastern Conference. So who's your picks to come out of this series? Obviously, Jolty, we know you're the Knicks, but do you believe that the Knicks will come out of this series, man?
I think they need to have a team meeting, closed door, no coaches, and literally talk about this. Like, we need to calm down. We need to play our game. We need to do what we've been doing that got us to the 4th seed, right? If they do that, if they can come together and play like they've been playing, I'm taking the Knicks. But they got to find a way to stop Trae Young, because, you guys are talking about Trae Young's trash talking. He's allowed to trash talk when he puts up the numbers he puts up, right? Yeah, let him trash talk. I'm okay with that. So I still think the Knicks got this. We're only 1 game behind, like you said, EJ. So the Knicks.
All right. So we got 1 for the Knicks. Brian, how about you, man?
I got to disappoint Zolti on this. I have to go with the Hawks. Unfortunately, I have to, because, just objectively, the Hawks have a more balanced roster with...
And they're deep.
Yeah, they have a really deep team. They got Bogdanovich, they got Hunter, they got a bunch of young players who can be on the floor for all 48 minutes. Compare that to the Knicks team, who do have a lot of young players like Toppin and Barrett, but at the same time, they got those older veterans who they are relying on heavily.
Way too much, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like tonight with Derrick Rose, you really shouldn't rely on someone like him to put up points on the scoreboard. You need to rely on.
I think he played 38 minutes or something like that tonight. That's crazy for a guy his age.
Yeah, no, that is insane. And that's going to show for the rest of the series, and he's just going to slow down. He's not going to have as much stamina. Yeah. I don't know how much Derrick Rose has left in the tank for the series, but it's not going to be good if you're just going to rely on your veterans. You need Randall to put up his season average at least in order for them to even make it far. But that's me. I think the Hawks got it.
Okay, Adian for the tiebreaker, man. Who are you picking?
Yeah, I got to go with the Hawks. I think their roster's just talented. They're deeper. They got more guys who are ready for the limelight, it seems. Bogdanovich, he was highly underrated back when he was with the Kings. And now that he's, finally playing in the playoffs, he's showing just small glimpses of what he used to do back in Europe. That guy was a killer in Europe. He was always a clutch player. And now that he has this big role playing alongside Trae Young, he's taken full advantage of it. So I do think those two will be the difference, because really they're just going up against Derrick Rose's 20 plus points per game. And, we've all been on that boat before. We've all seen Derrick Rose run out of gas. And that's because Tom Thibodeau pushes him to the brink every single time he's coached him. Actually, every player he does that with. So I think that's a concern if Derrick Rose has to play 38 minutes. But ultimately, I do think the Hawks pull the series out.
Yeah, definitely a fair point. The only way for the Knicks to survive is if Julius Randle does show up and show why he was most improved. Because, these games have been close. And if he performs the way he normally does, then it could easily be a 2-1 lead for the Knicks. But let's move on to the next matchup, Bucks-Heat. And if you recall, the Heat were the ones who knocked out the top-seeded Milwaukee Bucks last year. And this year, the Bucks took care of business at home and then dominated Game 3 in Miami to take a commanding 3-0 lead. But by the way, we just learned that Dante DiVincenzo will miss the remainder of the playoffs due to a tendon injury on his left foot. Huge blow for the Bucks. Now, with that, I want to ask Adian, do you think that the Heat will get swept in Game 4?
I do. I don't see how they get out of this, because Milwaukee's clicking on all cylinders right now. Their defense is outstanding. The way they've been able to stifle Bam Adebayo, who is basically the root of all their problems last season. And then also being able to limit Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero to less than they're used to. I think I think the big difference is having Drew Holiday, who's just an additional playmaker to the team. He can make buckets when Giannis is not going, when Chris Middleton's not going. I do think they get the sweep just because they're overall, top to bottom, a better team. Now that blow with Dante DiVincenzo going out, that's going to hurt them. Maybe going deeper into the playoffs, if they come across the Nets in the next series, having that depth, not having that depth with DiVincenzo, that could hurt a lot.
Oh no, definitely, yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask Jolty, because with that blow from DiVincenzo, and obviously I think we can all agree that I'm pretty sure that the Nets are going to come out of that series with Boston. What kind of chance do you give, Jolty? What kind of chance do you give the Bucks against surviving that Nets team?
I mean, you're right. They are going to beat the Heat, and I do think that the Nets are going to come out of that series with Boston, even though I'm pretty sure they're losing right now, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're down right now to
4
Boston,
minutes left.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. Whatever. Milwaukee is, even without DiVincenzo, they're clicking on all cylinders. This Heat team was a pretty solid team, and in two straight games, the Bucks had 30+ point leads in the game. Like, Giannis is unstoppable. Holiday is a defensive force. Like, they're clicking on all cylinders. And I mean, when it comes to the Nets, it'll be an interesting matchup. Like we were talking off air, and Kyrie's playing like trash tonight. But if you get like the big three, or at least the big two, to play half decent, you're gonna have a good series in the next round. But as far as this round, it'll be Milwaukee moving on, and Brooklyn most likely moving on.
Definitely. So I want to talk about the other two series that have been runaways. So going on to our next topic, the Sixers and Wizards, and the Nets and Boston series. We can talk about these really quick because honestly, I just want to know, Brian, do you predict a sweep in these two series? Well, Boston is up right now, but do you think that it will be a sweep for the Washington Wizards and Sixers game? Series?
I wouldn't necessarily call either series a sweep. The Wizards have a lot of fight in them. The Celtics are currently fighting for their lives right now, trying to eke out at least one game in the series. So at the very least, I think both of these series are going to have one win for the lower seeded teams, especially for the Sixers Wizards, because I feel like the Wizards have something to prove. They have at least one game in them to beat someone like the Sixers. The Sixers aren't the Nets. So. I know you're a Wizards fan, so I know you're we're talking good about the Wizards.
I hope so. But it was announced today that Russell Westbrook didn't participate in practice because of that ankle injury. So we're not even sure if he's going to be available in Game 3. So I don't know. I could see a sweep if Russell Westbrook misses anytime. But
if he misses,
we'll just have to wait and see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see on that one. But so let's go on to our final topic of this segment. I'm sure you all saw the Philly fan dumping popcorn on Westbrook as he exited the game due to the injury. And there was also a scene in New York where someone courtside spit at Trae Young. And that the guy from Philly got his season tickets revoked and is now indefinitely banned from the Wells Fargo Center and any event being held there. The guy from New York wasn't a season ticket holder, but he has been banned from MSG indefinitely. So this is a pretty big topic. I want to get you guys' opinion, starting with you, Adian. Is the punishment fair, or do you think there should be more to that punishment for these type of fans?
Yeah, I don't know how much more punishment you can do than that. Just ban them from the games. You can't take their fandom away from them. If they want to be passionate about, the team, so be it. But you can't have that in the arenas. You can't have spitting. You can't be throwing popcorn. We saw what happened with the Malice in the Palace back in 2005, 2006, whenever that was. And that was insane. We just can't have a repeat of that. With that being said, I do think now that fans are back in their arenas, they're kind of like understanding and realizing again how to treat people. They've all these young people have been online all this time using Twitter to like get out their rants or get upset at players, whatever it might be. And now that they are actually in person, we need to kind of relearn as a society how to properly be fans. So I think this is just growing pains of reintroducing fans.
I mean, I hope so, but I mean, I would think that these guys would be a little bit more mature than that, man. These are grown men watching other grown men playing a sport that they find enjoyable, and it's like, why cross that type of line? So Jolty, I wanted to ask you, do you think that the punishment? So as far as I understand, they're banned from the arenas that they were spectating from. Not every single arena in the NBA. So to me, ban them from any NBA game and all the arenas. But Jolty, how about you, Matt? How do you feel about the punishment? Fair? Should there be more?
I mean, okay, first off, the popcorn one, you know, Russell Westbrook's injured, you're going to dump popcorn on him. Like, what a stupid move, right? Like, so immature. The spitting one is even worse, though, right? Like, spitting on someone, that's like, that could be a felony potentially, right? Like, that's bad.
It is. I'm pretty sure it is.
US.
I'm pretty sure it is.
So, I mean, I think it would be up to the actual player. I didn't see the one at MSG I'm assuming it was a Knicks game.
Yep.
But was that Trae Young? Oh, they spat at Trae Young. Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess it would be up to the team and Trae Young to, you know, to pursue charges against that person if they wanted to. But yeah, I mean, they should be banned not only from this arena but every arena. And it's not only for the NBA. So they're banned from MSG for, you know, like New York Rangers games, from concerts, from everything. Like they're banned from the building, right? And if they go there, that's trespassing and that's, you know, another crime, right? But I think it should be, this punishment is okay by the teams, by the building, but the league or the specific player or teams need to pursue further legal action, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And Adam Silver has gone out to say that they will be working on a little bit more strict protocols and guidelines on how to address these types of actions in the future, especially after LeBron voiced out his opinion and concerns, say, hey, we got to protect the players out here. So great thoughts, guys. And we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk Western Conference playoffs. So don't go anywhere. You guys are watching EBC Sports International.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced. Not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Aguila Pilipinas. A 1-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Aguila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Aguila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to explain our health outdoor.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Broadcast journalist Wayne De La Fuente returns on Philippine television and radio to deliver top stories and engage with the country's policymakers, shapers, and movers. Tatalakayin ang mga pangunahing balita alas 7 ng umaga mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes. Live sa teleradyo ng Net25 at Radyo Aguila DCEC 1062. Kasama si Weng de la Fuente sa Balit Talakayan.
All right, welcome back, sports fans. I'm your host, EJ Gonzalez, coming to you from Alexandria, Virginia. Now, let's start with the Suns and Lakers in the Western Conference. After dropping Game 1 in LeBron-like fashion, LeBron have now won 2 straight to take the series lead over the Suns. AD looked out of it in Game 1, but in Game 3 finished with 34 points and 11 rebounds, while LeBron chipped in 21 points and 9 assists. So I want to get started on this topic, Brian. Do LeBron and Anthony Davis look poised to complete their typical gentleman's sweep where they let the team win their first game and then just go on and win 4 straight?
Right, exactly. That is a great description of how LeBron does his thing in the playoffs. He kind of like tests them out in Game 1, doesn't really go all out, and just exposes all of their weaknesses in the rest of the series. Like he's like the king he is. But I think it's going to happen. It's kind of sometimes you gotta think it's going to be inevitable with a player like LeBron and his caliber, with someone like AD on his side. I really think for some parts of the game when I was watching this series, I was thinking the Suns were, I think it was backwards, like the Suns were the bottom seed and the Lakers were back at the number 2 seed. Just the way that they were playing. It's kind of like LeBron is finally, in his words, playoff activated. So now he's not exactly putting up, monster numbers. 21 and 9 assists. That's good for another player besides him. But he contributed to the win, along with AD finally finding his game once again. So I think the Lakers are just going to finish the Suns off simply because of the fact that the Suns have injuries. Chris Paul's got he's got an ailing shoulder. Devin Booker, it's kind of hard to put up points at all because the Lakers have such a stifling defense. So I honestly think the Lakers are poised to make it to the finals.
Well, yeah, I mean, it looks like they're starting to click, and that was the concern going into this playoff series, but they definitely turned it on. So, Adian, Brian mentioned Chris Paul's injury, right? So I want to ask you, man, do you think that that's the reason why the Suns have lost now 2 straight, because Chris Paul isn't really 100%?
I believe so. I think he's their most important player. Devin Booker is their best scorer, but Chris Paul is the engine that makes them run. And if he's not right, which we've seen in the past, you think about that 2018 series, Rockets versus Warriors. They had a chance to knock him out in Game 6. He comes up with a hamstring injury, and it's basically the series is over at that point. So he's just had a lot of bad luck, and I'm not trying to go down his whole history, but Chris Paul being out is a big reason why his teams are not making it to the next round, and this would be devastating if they make it to the second seed. They play a great season. Monty Williams is potentially coach of the year. What's going to happen now? Does he re-sign with the Suns, knowing that they couldn't make it even past the first round? Who knows? But Chris Paul, not having him hurts tremendously.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. So, I mean, Jolte, I wanted to ask you, so what are your thoughts on Chris Paul and the Suns getting out of this hole from the Lakers? Do you see them winning another game?
No, not at all. I mean, even, Devin Booker, I think he had like 17, 19 last game. Ayton had 22, but that was basically all of their offense, right? Like, both of these guys brought it up. The defense that the Lakers play is just incredible. They're so in sync, especially with LeBron and AD missing so many games. To be able to come back, this late in the season, like right before the playoffs, and just get it together like that. Well, I wouldn't say like that because, when I was watching game one, you could see, AD looked exhausted. LeBron looked exhausted. He's walking up and down the court, missing shots, bad turnovers. They did not look like they were in that game at all. But like you said, that's typical, LeBron fashion, the gentleman's sweep of LeBron. And just overall, I feel bad for Suns fans. You make the playoffs after all this time and you're the number 2 seed and you're like, oh, sweet. We're going to go deep into the playoffs. And then it's like the Lakers win the play-in game and you're like, hold on, who are we playing? Right. LeBron, the GOAT, and AD and the Lakers.
The defending champs.
You gotta be joking. Yeah, right? Somehow they ended up as the number 7 seed. I just feel bad for Suns fans in that respect.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, I think it's unlucky. I mean, you guys the Suns, so excited to make it to the playoffs, and then they find out they're going to play LeBron in the first round. I would feel really scared. But, after winning game 1, you get that confidence. But the Lakers took care of game 2 and 3. So we're just going to have to wait and see whether LeBron does what he does and just sweeps them right after game 1. So let's move on to the next topic, the Clippers and Mavericks, who are playing right now as we speak. And the Clippers are without Serge Ibaka due to a lingering back injury. But so far, man, that guy, Luka Doncic, he has led the lower-seeded Mavericks to a 2-0 lead over the Clippers, who are considered to be one of the top teams to contend for a title this season. So I want to ask Adian, how impressed are you with Luka, and will he be leading the Mavs to a series victory?
Oh, man. Okay. Well, first question, how impressed am I with Luka? I'm very impressed. The man is 23 years old, and he's putting up numbers better than LeBron James in his first 3 seasons, better than Magic, better than Larry Bird. What he's doing is Hall of Fame worthy. He deserves to be on Mount Rushmore based on on the Mount Rushmore of best young players under 23 ever. I'm not talking about of all time. I mean, I'm not talking about in his entire career. I'm just talking about 23-year-olds and younger. He's had the 3 greatest seasons that any 23-year-old and under could ever have. I'm very impressed. With that being said, do I think they'll have a series victory? That's a tough one for me because I initially chose the Clippers to get out of that series. And I still feel like Clippers have a little bit of juice, but this whole Clippers curse thing is starting to feel real. It's starting to feel very real. And if the Mavs win, I think they'll do it in 6. If the Clippers win, they'll have to do it in 7.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a great series if the Clippers can win these next 2 games. I mean, that's the only way that obviously they can't lose game 3. If they go down 3-0, it's a wrap. But Brian, I wanted to ask you, man, what's wrong with the Clippers? Why did they lose games 1 and 2?
Man, where do I start? Where do I start with the Clippers? Aside from the Clippers curse and all of that, I mean, you can set that aside. You can just look at the team and how they're playing, and it's simply because they continue to lack chemistry. They don't have that heart that you would see in a team who is supposed to be bound for the finals, who's supposed to be an actual contender. So a team like the Clippers, who have players like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, man, these guys are supposed to be like the defensive MJ and Pippen. They were supposed to be of that caliber, but they have disappointed so far. And for the past couple of games, Kawhi Leonard, of course, he has his pedigree of being one of the greatest defensive players of all time, but he really hasn't been showing up. And that has been proven from Luka Doncic's tear. Like, he is on fire right now as we speak. Honestly, the Clippers have many problems. Defense is one of them. Chemistry is another. They really have to figure it out. I don't see Kawhi Leonard being that team leader as we would hope him to be. Just being like, just come on, guys, huddle up. No, you can't see that because he's just not built for that. But those are some glaring issues that we've seen the past couple of years.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, you're not going to get that vocal leadership from Kawhi Leonard. He's a fun guy, but he's not going to be the one to call you out on stuff. So, Jolty, I wanted to ask you, man. So, in this scenario, right? Say Clippers get bounced in round one. What do you think happens to the team next year?
Well, Kawhi gone, coaching staff gone. This team is going to have to rebuild around Paul George. Paul George has just signed a contract for the 2025 season, I think it is. So, I mean, he's going to be, alone in LA. And by alone in LA, I mean the Clippers side of LA, not the Lakers side of LA. They're going to have to try to find a way to attract, Kawhi caliber players back to the Clippers. Because if they get, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. Even if they win this series, they somehow come back and win this series. I don't see them the way they're playing, the way the Clippers curse always happens. They're not making it that far into the playoffs. So, no matter what, Kawhi's gone. I think Ty Lue's their coach, right? So he'll probably, if they make it out of this series, he might be back. They might give him a break. If they don't make it out of the series, he's gone. That's my take on the Clippers. And just quick side note, because my brothers, they know we're filming this tonight. I just got like 4 text messages that Jason Tatum just hit 50 points against the Nets, which is a huge number in the playoffs. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. Go ahead, EJ.
Oh no, definitely. Well, Jason Tatum, that guy is a straight up scorer, man. I mean, he puts up 50. And he does it like in a very quiet way, which is crazy to me. Like he's scary, but yeah, no, I mean the Clippers are in trouble right now. They are up 65-61 in the starting the third quarter. But if they don't win this one, it's a wrap. So let's talk about these last 2 matchups though in the Western Conference. So Portland took game 1, but Denver takes game 2 and 3. To have the series lead there. And while the Jazz and Grizzlies are currently split at 1-1, let's start talking about the Jazz and Grizzlies, man, because Donovan Mitchell thinks he's ready to play game 1, and then the medical staff's the one who pulls him out, and he's mad and he's expressing frustrations and about the organization. So, Adian, man, are Mitchell's frustrations concerning for the organization?
Apparently not, because he balled out in game 2. And I think the way he's been, basically sitting out for injury for the past several weeks, month and a half or so, it really showed that he's been rehabbing really well, because he looked like nothing was wrong in game 2. He looked like he didn't take any time off at all. And I don't think it'll be an issue going forward between him and the organization. I think they've ironed out all of the problems. Obviously, he had a dispute. He had a disagreement with the way they handled game 1. But I think they're going to move past that. And maybe it's new owner Dwayne Wade doing all of the talking and calming him down, or maybe it's just Mitchell's maturation. He's grown a lot as a player. I think both on the court and off the court, and I think it's really showing here in this series. I think learning from last series as well, when they lost to Denver last playoffs when they were up 3-1. I think it taught them a lot, and that's why they've come back stronger this season. That's why they're the first seed. That's why I do think they'll bounce back from that situation.
Well, I hope so, because like you said, first seed, right? Say they lose this game, the series to the 8th seed, and they lose it 4-3, right? They go up to game 7. If I'm Donovan Mitchell, you sat me out game 1, I would be furious, and I don't know how I would be able to make amends with that. You guys are one of the favorites to come out of the West, being the top seed, and then say this series, because the 2 games have been close. This can easily go to a 7-game series, especially the way Ja Morant has been playing. So I want to ask Brian, I see you, man. What are your impressions on Ja Morant? He had 47 apiece in the 2nd game of his playoff career.
Ooh, man, I have to say, I am so glad to be witnessing a player of someone like Morant. He is the future of the NBA. The guy is so young. He's under 25, and he's putting up numbers like this. I knew that he was built for playoff basketball, and it just shows, man. It just shows. Like, he put up 47 the other night, and not only him, but he has another young teammate in Dylan Brooks. They look like one of the better backcourts of the future of the league, and I really think that they have a fighting chance. You know, the Jazz are one of the greatest teams in the leagues from this year. You know, they changed everything about them, but the players on the team. But the Grizzlies have those players that can square up against them. So John Morant, man, he's a fantastic player. So I'm excited to keep watching this series.
Yeah, he's been impressive to me. He's reminding me like a young Allen Iverson. I think that's the kind of swag that he shows on the floor. But that wraps it up for the playoff talk. Let's take a quick break, but don't go anywhere, guys, because you don't want to miss our next discussion regarding some drama surrounding golf. Yes, golf, man. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Humanda na kayo dahil this is gonna be an exciting battle para sa ating monthly finalist. This is Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 Singing Edition.
This program is supported by China Bank. Your success is our business.
Kita.
Romeo! Wag! Wag!
So it was you who planned to kill me.
Ang tanging hiling ko lang, Romeo. Sana'y makamahalin mo at alagaan ng mabuti si Maya. Kakasal lang kapatid ko. I'm happy for you.
Sigurado ka bang itutuloy mo ito? Anak, matutuloy ang kasal mo ngayon. Pero paano bukas? Sa makalawa, paano pag nagising na si Romeo?
Let me say this for one last time. Pwede ka pa umatras. Let's start over again. Together, as a family.
Oh, Tia!
Sa'yo habang may buhay, di tayo maghihiwalay. Ikaw ay akin sa langit at sa mundo.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, let's talk some golf. The Capital One's The Match is making a return this year on July 6th. And for those who are unfamiliar, it's a 2v2 golf tournament for a charity where featured pairings like Tiger Woods, Peyton Manning, and Mickelson and Tom Brady, or Mickelson and Charles Barkley versus Peyton Manning and Stephen Curry. Like, these are the type of matchups that happen for these charitable events. And this year, it's Mickelson and Tom Brady, paired again, but this time it's going to be against Bryson DeChambeau and Aaron Rodgers, and the trash talking surrounding this match, guys, has gone viral on social media. Brady at one point threw a jab and mentioned in a tweet, quote, it's two champions versus a scientist and a Jeopardy host. So, Jalti, I want to start with you, man. What are your thoughts on the trash talking? How were you entertained this week, man?
Listen, I love beef. Not just burgers, not just the cow, not just the food. Beef. When two, stars like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are going at it, and this all stems from a golf beef that EJ, you can explain after.
Yeah.
But there is a viral meme of Brooks Koepka, like with his head down as Bryson DeChambeau walks behind him. And Tom Brady has been tweeting, memes that he's made with these things. And he's called out, not only Aaron Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau for being a scientist and a Jeopardy host, but also the Packers organization. He has Aaron Rodgers as Brooks Koepka looking down, and it says, and in the background it says Packers going for a field goal down 7, and with Aaron Rodgers looking all sad. So he's not only calling out, like these guys, he's calling out an entire organization, which I love. So this trash talking by Brady, keep it going. I love it.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It's been very, very entertaining, and as you alluded to, Jolty, man, looks like Brooks Koepka just does not like Bryson DeChambeau, and I think it stems back to a certain tournament where I think Koepka had to play behind Bryson DeChambeau, and Bryson DeChambeau, who is known as the scientist by Tom Brady, is over here taking notes, taking so much time to hit his shot when Brooks Koepka wants just to go. So ever since then, I guess these two just don't like each other. But Adrian, I want you to chime in here, man. How do you feel about the trash talking, or you could just let us know who you're going to be rooting for in this matchup? You going to go with Mickelson and Brady, or are you going to go with DeChambeau and Rodgers?
So to chime in on the beef, I gotta say, I love it. When you're at the greatest, when you're at the pinnacle of your sport, you can say anything you want. That Tom Brady vibe gives me, Michael Jordan vibes when he was the greatest and he took everything personally, and he can trash talk anybody because he's the greatest. That's what Tom Brady's doing. He's establishing himself as the greatest, and everyone has to fall in line. Even Peyton Manning received some of that trash talk last year.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's Aaron Rodgers' turn. But with all that being said, come on. We're all kind of against Tom Brady. He's unless you're from New England or Tampa Bay, really, who's cheering for Tom Brady at this point? I like Aaron Rodgers' post when he announced that the matchup would be on. He was like light versus dark, resistance versus the dark side. Yeah, I think that's all it is, really. It's the underdogs or the good guys going up against the bad guys. That's Tom Brady and Phil. So yeah, I'm going for Aaron Rodgers and the light side.
Well, I think Tom Brady is the one who made them the dark side, because Phil Mickelson, he chimes in and he's like, hey, I feel like I'm caught in between the middle of something that I don't want to be caught in between. So I'm going to leave you guys at it. Jolty, you going to say something?
Yeah, so there's even trash talk, even after that whole Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, interaction during that interview that created this meme. Brooks Koepka tweets out, "Sorry, bro," at Aaron Rodgers, in reference to having being paired up with DeChambeau. And DeChambeau replies to Koepka saying, "It's nice to be living rent-free in your head."
Oh,
so this trash talk just keeps going. To have back and forth. To have Koepka and DeChambeau as a final pairing would be like in a PGA match would be my dream.
Bro, this is, and that's a crazy thing, right? We're talking golf, right? I mean, this is a sport that kind of gets pushed aside unless you're talking about Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson, or you're talking about a major championship on the line, right? But here we are talking about a beef that's bringing a lot of attention, I think, to golf. And when they have these pairings with star athletes like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, even people in the golf, in the football community are kind of intrigued to watch and learn the game of golf. So me, I know Michael, I know he said he wishes that he could be on for this segment because he and I are the avid golfers in the group. But yeah, man, I think for the sport of golf, this beef between Bryson and Koepka, man, I think it's great for the game, and I think it's going to bring a lot of viewership and teach younger people about the game of golf, which is so enjoyable, which is why other athletes like Stephen Curry, Andre Iguodala, and Tom Brady, Peyton Manning love the game of golf as well. So I think it's great for the sport of golf. But before we end, guys, we can't end without the question of the week. And so similar to the match, right? Let's do it this time in basketball style. You get to compete on a 3v3 basketball tournament, and you get to choose one celebrity and one other professional athlete that doesn't play basketball. No, I was going to pick J. Cole, so I can't pick J. Cole because technically he's a professional athlete there in Africa now. So I'm going to start with you, Jolty. Who would you like to be paired up with on this special 3v3 tournament?
All right, first up, I'm going the guy who made dunking on a goalpost a 15-yard penalty in the NFL, Jimmy Graham. Because if he can do that in a 3-on-3 tournament, we're golden. And second, Will Ferrell, but he has to play Jackie Moon from Semi-Pro. That's my dream team of three.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a fun one. Adrian, how about you, man? Who would you like to be paired up with?
Oh, man, Jackie Moon's a good one. But for me, I'm going to go with John Krasinski, a.k.a. Jim from The Office. If you ever watched the first season of The Office, that guy is an absolute hooper. Not only did he play the best in that game, but he also won the heart of Pam Beesly and ended up, I'm not going to spoil it, just watch the series. Anyway, my second player I'm going to choose is, who did I say I was going to go with?
Myles Garrett, I think.
Yeah, Myles Garrett. There was footage of him being released recently of him dunking on some, I guess, college athletes, college players. He's a big dude. He'll add intimidation factor to my team. Come on over, Myles Garrett.
Definitely. Love the picks, guys. If it were me, I would pick Chris Brown because he's a certified hooper as well. And our very own Manny Pacquiao because he just loves to hoop. So that's all the time we have for this week's edition of EBC Sports International. On behalf of everyone on our panel, thank you so much for joining us. And be sure to tune in again next week. Make sure to visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at EagleNewsPH to join the conversation. From EBC Sports International, I'm EJ Gonzalez. We live in interesting times.